before you two angels dressed in white. And Liz has asked us to begin our dialogue by, we should point towards each other, to describe briefly how we came to monastic life. Well, the first time I went into a monastery, I was at the age of 7. I physically walked into a monastery, I didn't enter the monastery. And I was with my mother, who was taking me for an interview at a Benedictine school in London. And we took a wrong turning. We went to see the headmaster, we took a wrong turning and we walked into the cloister. And the headmaster who was coming to see us came downstairs and saw my mother, who was a woman, in the cloister, and he almost had a heart attack. And he rushed us out of the cloister immediately. And I think that was the last time, that was the first time I went into a cloister, and it was probably another 16 or 17 years before I went into another monastic cloister, although I went to school at a Benedictine school run by Benedictine nuns. And it never occurred to me, I don't think it never occurred to me to become a monk. And there was no pressure on the boys in the school. But it was there at the school that I first met John Lane. And I continued to meet with him after I left school, and at certain key moments in my life he was there as a friend, as a mentor, and of course it was John Lane who introduced me to meditation. And when I was at a career change in my life, after I finished university and I was working and was becoming journalist, John Lane returned to London to open the first Christian meditation centre. And he had a small group of young laymen who were going to live in the monastery at the centre and make an extended retreat, a 6-month retreat. And so I thought that would be a good opportunity for me to finally learn to meditate properly, because I had been introduced to meditation earlier by Father John, but I had no discipline and no support to practice. So I thought I would make the 6-month retreat. And he was a little skeptical about whether I would be able to do it, but he gave me a chance, and I went in, and it was a very difficult 6 months. I think it's always difficult to grow in self-knowledge, but it's the most important and satisfying thing to grow in self-knowledge, but it's never without pain. And at the end of the 6 months, I was quite pleased that I had finished the 6 months, that I had, I think, learned to meditate, begun to develop discipline, and I was really looking forward to leaving and going back to the real world. Although I increasingly began to wonder which was the real world. So I remember I was sitting on a train once during that 6-month period, during the retreat. I went into London for something, and I was watching the people on the train, and half of them were talking to each other, half of them were talking to themselves, and looking quite crazy. And I began to wonder who was more crazy, the people in the monastery or the people outside the monastery. Anyway, after 6 months, when I was preparing to go back to the world and to continue my career, I had a big shock, because I suddenly realized that I had lost my worldly ambition. I couldn't become excited anymore about what I intended to do in the world. I tried it, I wanted to feel engaged with it, but I didn't. And then I realized also that I didn't want to be a monk either. I had been happy, in a way, in the monastery as a layman, but I didn't really think of entering the monastery. So I had a quite difficult crisis, and I didn't know which way to go. And Father John characteristically listened to me, but put no pressure on me. So I took quite a long time to decide, and went on a pilgrimage to Monte Cassino, St. Benedict's original monastery in Italy. And eventually I thought, well, I have to try. I have to see whether I should be a monk or can be a monk. And then as soon as I had made that decision, I felt a great peace, a great sense of arrival. This was the right decision. And that was the beginning of my monastic life. And I think I've never regretted it. I've had many changes, many different forms of monastic life. Living another form of the monastic life now for the last few years. But I've never regretted being a monk. I feel it's a wonderful path. If it's the right path for you, it's a very beautiful path. And Father John once said to me early in my monastic training, speaking my novice master, do you think you're prepared for the monastic life? And I thought he meant for the suffering, for giving up family and, the world, freedom and so on. So I said, well, it's going to be difficult, I know, but I think I can cope with it. And he smiled and he said, no, I don't mean that. He said, I mean, are you prepared for the joy? And that gave me a whole new understanding of what I was doing. And I think that, of course, as in any life, you will find suffering, disappointment, setbacks, mistakes, struggle. But I think I can say that my monastic life has been a growth in joy over those years. So that's good.
I started the religious life, still young, but not the monastic life. I was studying in Hong Kong in the Salesian, in one of the schools run by the Salesian fathers, Shakiwan Salesian school. So I came from a pagan family. My parents and they all were not Christians or Catholics. So, but they sent me and my elder brother, more or less very, very close in age. And so we were sent to study in the Salesian school. And very soon we studied catechism. There was a primary school. And then we wanted to be baptized, to become Christian Catholics. And surprising to me that there was no objection, no difficulty at all from our parents. They said, well, if you want to become Catholic, that's fine. So the two of us were baptized, and so we were very happy, baptized, and we began to learn how to with all the boys, serve Mass. And the rector of the Salesian school one day asked me, would you be interested to enter our minor seminary? And I didn't know what is that, but I know that every year, after at the end of the primary school, some would go to the minor seminary, and those are usually the best students who go there. So, at least for that reason, I felt honored by the invitation. So I told the rector, yes, I would like to. But then when I went home, I began to think about what does it imply to enter the seminary and then later become priest and to work as these Salesian brothers and fathers are working. But anyway, I felt happy with the idea. And so I began to ask my mother, one day that I would like to go to the seminary. And again, it was so surprising. My mother at that time, he was a Buddhist. At that time, after our baptism of the two brothers, he went to the parish to learn catechism. So he was a catechumen. And he said, yes, very good. I support you. I shall pray for you. So I was very happy. But then after some time I had to tell my father, so he was so angry and so upset. It's more than angry. He was very much upset. Why a good young boy, he had this so negative idea of becoming a Buddhist monk. For him to enter the seminary to be priest is likely to become a Buddhist monk. So he was very sad and was very severe. Said, don't think about that, don't mention it, and don't think about it anymore in the future. So I thought, well, there's no way. But then I told the rector, so I cannot come because my father was strongly opposed. But then the rector would say that, what did you tell him? Oh, I tell him I want to enter the seminary and become a priest. You should not tell him that way because it's still so far away. You just tell him you want to enter another school, change, my seminary. But now it's too late. But I never gave up. So after months, I would mention it again, and my father would get angry again. But then I continued to put the same question, to say the same thing. And then finally, my father gave up. So if you want, just go. So I was able to enter. So I became a Salesian, and studied was ordained in Hong Kong, and then I was sent to do further studies in Europe, first in London and then in Italy, in Rome. But all the time I felt some kind of a deeper desire for a more prayerful life, more contemplative life. I don't mean the Salesians, they're not good in prayer, but that's another style. That's an active congregation for education of young people doing wonderful things in Hong Kong and in the world. But that's another style. I felt something, for me there's still something missing. I'm looking for more quiet, contemplative, prayerful contemplative life. So finally I had the Benedictines in Europe, because in Hong Kong there were no Benedictines. They are the Trappists. I also visited the Trappist monastery, but again I felt that probably is not my calling. I don't mean anything wrong with our brothers. I know there's some brothers from the Trappist monastery. But when I met the Benedictines in Europe, then I felt it's closer to what I was looking for. And then finally I found the Camaldolese. That for me is even closer let me just say a few words about the Camaldolese. You see, we are both in white, as Father Laurence says, two white angels, because the most Benedictines, almost all Benedictines, are dressed in a black habit, and they are only within the Benedictine order. There are about 20 congregations. So Father belongs to the Organican congregation. I belong to the Camaldolese congregation, and we have white habit, and all the other Benedictines wear black habit. So the special character of the Camaldolese congregation is we are this year celebrating our millennium, 1,000 years of history, founded in 1012, and now it's 2013. So last year we were celebrating the millennium. The characteristic of this congregation is that we have the so-called threefold good, threefold aspects of the monastic life. First, we have the community life, synodial community, like all the Benedictine congregations. They have a big monastery. All the monks live in the same monastery, same building. But we also have hermitage. That I think in the Latin Church in the West, that's the only order, only congregation, only order which have this form of monastic life, hermitage. Each monk will live in a single cell, but then they have a chapel and a dining room. So they attend prayers several times a day, community prayer, and also community meals. Otherwise, most of the time, each one will be living in a cell, a separated cell. So this is the characteristic of our congregation: synodial, community life, and solitude. But strange to say, we also have the third aspect. The third aspect is that most people would have difficulty to imagine what the third aspect of this hermits. The third aspect is mission, is evangelization, but together with martyrdom, because 1,000 years ago, to go to do missionary work means you should be ready to receive martyrdom, to preach the gospel to the so-called barbarians. So many of them became martyrs. So we have these three aspects. But then, of course, the missionary aspect very soon took another form. We didn't go to other countries to do evangelization mission work, but we receive guests. We have the hospitality, offering guests come, and then we share our prayer with them, and also we have the Bible study with them, or talks on spirituality. So that kind of ministry is still always kept. This kind of ministry with the spiritual dimension. So that's, I feel, when I entered, my superiors from the Salesian side were very generous. They told me that that's your own calling. You just try to pray, reflect, and make your decision. And before deciding, I made a 30-day retreat outside Rome, near Rome. I made a 30-day retreat, and after that I make a decision to change from the Salesian congregation to the Benedictine Camaldolese congregation. And I feel happy with this combination of community life, solitude, and also the opportunity to do missionary work. Maybe Father will say something, and then I can continue to say something about my missionary work. Okay, but maybe Father will have something to say. Thank you.